But we saw a little something the other day on YouTube, and it's from Josh Pate, and he was talking with Rich Rod on there. You know, it's funny though. They talked a little bit about Alabama. And I think to myself, and you know, for those who don't remember or don't know about it, he was going to be the next head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide in '06. But then last second, he's got cold feet. He's like, nope, I'm out. He was like the runaway bride for Tuscaloosa. Thank goodness for that.
Yeah, I can guarantee you we would not have 6 titles.
No, we wouldn't have had Cincinnati's for sure. But I wonder what if we did have Rich Rod as our head coach? Like, what if that did happen? He's like, oh, I'm in the final stages, going to sign that contract. Boom, I'm in Tuscaloosa. I'm leaving Morgantown, shaking the trail dust off. Like, what would have happened? Like, would we have, like, eventually ended the SEC title drought? Like what? Like what would have happened exactly? Like what would have been similar to the Michigan era? Those 3 years he was there. Like what would have happened exactly?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. It's one of those what ifs that really you can't definitively answer, except you can use the evidence that you have of Rich Rod to kind of tell you what you would have got. And I think what you would have got, Alabama would have won games, but they wouldn't have been elite. I mean, Rich Rod probably would have won 8, 9, 10 games at best. And that would not have been good enough for most fans. I mean, yeah, back then with what Alabama, where we were at, the expectations would have been lower. They're not as ridiculously high as they are now. I mean, we got 6 titles now with Saban added to the ones we already had. And it's like, you know, now DeBoer, the expectations are insane. But like Rich Rod, he wouldn't have had those expectations that DeBoer has currently because of what Saban did. But back then, he still would have been asked to win a lot of games. And I don't know if he would have been able to win enough to keep his job in the long run. I mean, he lost his job in Michigan. But I think he'd have won some games. I think that you would have had a couple of highlights in there, but I don't think no titles. I don't even think an SEC title. Maybe an SEC title, but I don't think even an SEC title. Definitely no natty. It would have just been a lot of 9-3s, 8-4s, probably. Maybe 10.
Yeah, because I mean, like we probably would have gotten like one SEC title under him, but no national title. And we know everybody here in Tuscaloosa, they'd have been mad. Rightfully so. Like they'd have been mad.
Well, they would have been mad. I mean, like I said, considering where Bama was previously, I mean, 9-3, 10-2, and 8-4 would have been better than what we were doing. But still, fans would have gotten to the point where it's like, why can't you do better? Why can't you give me more, Rich Rod? It's like, yeah, you've gotten us to the point where we're good, but we want to be great. We want to be elite. So stuff like that eventually runs its course. I mean, especially now, I mean, it's different back in 2006, but now that we're in 2025, you're seeing coaches get fired quicker than ever before if they don't win, especially with an IL. People just think you can rebuild a roster in a year, which you technically can if you get the right pieces. It's not sustainable, aka Florida State, but you can do it. So everybody's expecting win now. You know, you got to win right now. So,
well, and you know, we're looking
now than it was then, but yeah.
Well, and, you know, I'm looking at the years that he was at his first stint at West Virginia. Like the first season, god awful. Then he turns them around, gets them to 9-4. Then they have a couple 8-win seasons. But 2005, they dominated everybody in the Big East. They beat the Georgia Bulldogs in the Sugar Bowl, but it was the first year. Well, the second year in the Big East without Miami and Virginia Tech running the show. But it was the first year without Boston College. So it's like if it took this long to get an 11-win season at West Virginia, I don't think he would have seen a fifth season in Tuscaloosa. Like that wouldn't have happened. Like
Yeah,
no.
I mean, you got to realize that the competition that we face in the SEC is a lot tougher than who West Virginia plays. And even
Oh
in that era, who they played then in the Big East, the competition's not the same. So, I mean, yeah, while that is impressive that he had a good of a year, he's not playing top 20 teams week in and week out. I know a lot of people are like, well, the SEC, you've got the garbage non-conference. That's mostly fair, but you have all the tough teams in conference. I just, to me, I mean, I don't think Rich Rod's a terrible coach. I don't
no.
think that. He's not bad. It's just the fact that he's not going to be able to win you what Bama fans would have wanted. It was not going to happen. I think he'd had a couple pretty good years, but then fans would have wanted more. If he had like a 7-6 type of year, he'd have been toast.
Well, and if he had been the head coach at Bama for the '07 season, '08, '09, and beyond for like at least those next few years, he'd have had to deal with Urban Meyer at Florida. Florida curb stomped everyone back then. Like, I mean, with the exception of '07, but other than that, no. Like the Bulldogs, yeah, they were always coming up short of that big game under Mark Richt. I mean, Tennessee and Phil Farmer. I think like Tennessee would have beaten Bama in '07 if Rich Rod was the head coach of Alabama by then.
Probably, but I mean, Fulmer still would have been on his way out, though. I mean,
It makes me wonder as well, because like you know how Spurrier got South Carolina their first East Division title in 2010.
mm-hmm.
Do you think he would have had an easier chance getting South Carolina an SEC title if Rich Rod was the head coach of Alabama by then?
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
because I mean it's like Florida still would have had that down season in 2010, no doubt about it. And it makes me wonder if we still would have seen Cam Newton go to. Well, no, Cam Newton at Auburn, Cam Newton in Florida. That's the funny thing about these what if situations. It makes you think about like all the scenarios of not just 1 year, but the next 5 years afterwards.
That's what makes discussions like this crazy because you can go on and on with it. You can do what ifs for everything. Using a scenario that never occurred. So you take Rich Rod, and then you can say, well, this would have maybe affected this team. This would have maybe affected that team. You'll never know. It's just you can kind of make hypotheses, or hypotheses of the situation, and be like, all right, if Alabama doesn't have the GOAT, the greatest coach ever, in Saban, and you have this guy who's going to probably get you 9 wins, it would have affected these other teams, and probably in a way that would have been positive for them. Because I mean, when you're beating teams, when we're knocking down teams, that keeps them below you. It's like, but if they're beating us, and that puts them higher. It's just the way it works.
Yeah.
It's like Indiana football, right? Like they used to always be the doormat of the Big Ten. But like you get Kurt Signetti and Indiana just made the playoffs. So it's like, what does that mean? That means somebody else in the Big Ten is doing worse because Indiana is doing good. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that means everybody else that Indiana plays has an extra loss. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just how that works. It's a domino effect. Every single team's performance, especially in conference play, has a relation to every other team and how they do. That's just the way that is. I don't think a lot of people think about that. I mean, I think a lot of people do, but a lot of people don't think about it in that context where it's like, all right, if Alabama's 8-0, then every other team Alabama played has a conference loss. If Alabama's 5-3 in conference play, then that means 3 of those teams Alabama lost to, they all have that one more win. It affects everything. So yeah, if Alabama's worse because of having Rich Rod instead of Saban, then yeah, those other teams would have probably been better, or
And
things played out differently. I mean, you could do that for so many different things. What if What if Bob Knight didn't get fired at Indiana? I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
Would Indiana have won the O2 title? Would Indiana still be good right now? Again, you don't know. There's so many what ifs. You could do it for any team, like that has a situation like that.
Well, there's another.
Bear Bryant never left Kentucky.
Yeah.
I mean, literally. Like, what if Bear Bryant never left Kentucky and he had all the success there instead of Bama?
Oh, man. So. Kentucky would have been the basketball behemoth if that happened.
Calipari wouldn't have probably ever been at Kentucky then.
No. But, and if Rich Rod had been the head coach at Alabama, I don't think Alabama LSU would be one of the most talked about games it is today. Because, I mean, like with Saban going over to Alabama, that's all everybody talked about was, Nick Saban's making his return to Baton Rouge. First time since he left LSU. But then afterwards, it became, the Alabama LSU rivalry, number 1, number 2. We obviously wouldn't have seen that in 2011 if Rich Rod was head coach. But, I don't think we would be seeing Alabama LSU be talked about as much as, like, say, Alabama Georgia Tech was talked about in the early 1960s.
Yeah, old rivalries die, new ones form. It's just the way it is. There's a lot of defunct rivalries, unfortunately, in college football, especially now with realignment. There's even more so. But yeah, like Alabama LSU became a great rivalry because of that Saban connection and the amount of great games that there have been. Now I will say, like last year's game, trash. that was, you call that a rivalry game? I don't know what that was. It was great for us.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they sucked, but like, yeah, having that Saban connection with both teams and when both teams are good, yeah, like that Alabama LSU game in Baton Rouge a couple years ago, that was a great game.
Mm-hmm.
We lost, but it was a great game. That was like Brian Kelly's crowning achievement, right? That win when it's the 2-point conversion or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
That game.
And I tell you this though, that's the day after you and I both first met.
That's ironic too. That's crazy. It's been that long.
Yeah,
that's wild.
That's funny though. It's like we first met November 4th, 2022. And then day later, boom, Bama LSU's happening on Saturday night on ESPN, November 5th, 2022. But crappy end for us.
That's wild. That's crazy right there for sure. I remember that game though. It was frustrating because I mean, Brian Kelly's not a great coach. I mean, we all know that he's not a great coach. I don't think he sucks. I think some people definitely overplay how bad he is. I don't think he sucks. He's just not great. And like I said, there is a big difference between
Uh-oh, face freeze again.
Elite and great. And there's
Brian Kelly's making him face freeze. Oh, Lord. Ruggy.
Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Yeah,
I think Brian Kelly's making
my
face
internet
freeze.
doesn't like Burger King. It don't like them.
I don't blame the internet not liking Brian Kelly.
What I was trying to say is that there's a big difference between elite and great, and there's a big difference between great and good. And at a program like LSU, good is not acceptable. That's the problem that Brian Kelly faces. Brian Kelly is at a program where they want elite, and he's not. And that's why it's not going to work. He's not an elite coach. He's not a great coach. He's at best good. He's at best a good coach. And that's not good.
He's great in the regular season, but he's god-awful in the big postseason games. And we're not talking about the Texas Bowl either. We're talking about those playoffs and in the SEC title game.
LSU can't even get to the playoffs. I mean, they're like they haven't been in years.
It's funny. But, just to put a damper on this Rich Rod topic, he talked about in the interview, he was telling why he deserved a statue. I'm not kidding, a statue at Alabama. But he talked about how he was tied to the Alabama head coaching job before Saban took over in the interview with Josh Pate. He did not take his coaching expertise Tuscaloosa, thank goodness. He thinks he should be rewarded for this decision after Saban went to Tuscaloosa and led one of the best dynasties college football he's seen. And he says, quote, I just always tell a story. So where's my trophy at Tuscaloosa? Where's my statue outside there? Rodriguez said with a laugh. Because if I had gone there, you may not have those sits. Well, that's true. You probably wouldn't have those 6 national championships and all that. But it was, that was what's so interesting about my journey and how one decision can affect a whole lot of different programs, unquote.
I will say that I respect his humor. Because I know some people are probably going to read that and be like, oh, what's his problem? Honestly, I think it's hilarious. That's funny. Like, that's legitimately funny because, yeah, like, we're not building a statue for you, guy, but you know what? Like, that is hilarious because, I mean, yeah, you helped us out, man. Like, you definitely helped us out. No, we wouldn't have had national championships under Rich Rod. No.
No.
So his decision.
But it kind of made Jeffrey cut out for a moment. No, he's. Oh man. Let's see if we can hear you.
It's gonna keep doing it. I can't do anything about it. I'm sorry, man. It's
You're good, man.
I was saying that his decision ended up being very fruitful for Alabama, so it's great. It's great, and it's good that he has the humor for that. That's all.
There we go. So we'll definitely make sure that it's. I'm glad Rich Rod didn't go to Tuscaloosa at the end because like it worked out for everybody. Now,
absolutely,
he's back doing great things in Morgantown, and he's going to have Pat McAfee giving him all that money. So
you gotta have money to win these days. It's just the way it is. So
and a cigar in a hot tub.